up, guys? It's gonna be my first reacting video. So today we're gonna be watching why Gojo versus Sans isn't close. Wait, first of all, this is made by Tuck Almighty. So y'all should go sub, cause this looks peak. And Rakai did not do that, bro. Alright, yeah, let's watch.
Well, boys.
God damn, my bad. My bad, gang, my bad.
Well, boys, it's finally happened.
This is peak.
We have bared witness to him.
Oh.
The strongest ghost the king had ever seen. His eyes are unmistakable. And his return surely signifies that the final bells are tolling for Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
And you know who all that reminds me of? The Funny Bone Man.
Yeah.
So let me hit you with a hollow purple level back in my day, and let's rewind the clock almost a decade to a simpler time. One where I can tell all you wonderfully brain-rotted Lobotomy Kaisen fans a lovely tale. This is the story of the most unironically insane matchup that no one has talked about.
Are you sure about this?
Yeah, I think Sans would win.
Alright, here's a better question. Do you want to have a bad time?
Oh. No, this is a sick picture. Sorry if you hear me coughing, I'm sick.
Okay. So overdramatic intros aside, these two really don't need any introductions. They're the internet's favorite duo of white and blue funny dudes who deal with all the funny business. And even ignoring their constantly relaxed attitudes, odd afflictions for space-time shenanigans, or their shared role as the universe's chosen judge of fate, the fact that both of their main powers can be summed up as funny guy doesn't ever get hit is probably already enough for me to have interest in the matchup. But now, since they also share the whole nah-eyed hunt shtick for traumatizing the people who they took the L to after said person got exactly 19 power-ups, honestly, the whole situation is just ratatouille'd repressed memories of my youth, and now I need to see it through to the end. Plus, considering these two comedians tend to warp internet culture around themselves wherever they go, I felt like they'd be perfect candidates for one of these more fun, casual, death battle type matchups. But to actually explain how the strongest sorcerer would fare against the easiest monster, we have to answer a shockingly complicated question about everyone's favorite bag of bones. Does he fight like this? Or more like this? Well, I know it seems like a sort of silly thing to ask when comparing him to the incredibly serious tone and world of JJK. Undertale is oftentimes an intentionally silly story, built to exist in the confines of a 2D pixel art video game. And while hardware or gameplay limitations alone obviously shouldn't contradict the idea of characters like Sans being interpreted in real-world proportion with their lore, a big focus of the game's deeper story and mechanics centers around meta-breaking, fourth-wall acknowledgement.
Welcome to the club.
With multiple characters calling you out directly for saving the game, or blatantly referring to the controls you're using to play it. So, while some characters like Undyne are seen pretty clearly throwing attacks both in and out of the bullet board, which could be seen as proof that this stuff translates one-to-one with the physical world, characters like Flowey and Papyrus directly mention the player's soul and how they have to protect it from all sorts of attacks as opposed to the physical body. And in a way, that sort of makes sense because the monsters of the underground who make up Undertale's cast, including Sans, are specifically noted numerous times to be entirely made of magic, which makes them much different from humans, as while we are physical and biological in nature, preventing us from, like, punching a ghost in the face, monsters aren't limited in such ways.
When playing games on PC, do you ever wonder if someone had a clip with you in it? Download Metal, then go to Albums, Clips you're in, and connect to any games you want clips for. And there you are.
Here's one I found of myself.
I'm gonna clutch up.
Yo.
Ready to unlock Roblox digital gift cards?
This distinction gets to the point that their own magical bodies can be altered by things like emotion. Strong bloodlust can make even a powerful monster's defense crumple like paper. Emotionally charged items like the Heart Locket can physically protect you from their magical attacks. And raw determination can allow their body to persist past death, or affect the very save file of the world around them. And although these pedantic distinctions between attacking the soul and attacking the physical body don't usually come up in this sort of cross-verse matchup, as pretty much any self-respecting Gojo fan would know, the primary ability of Satoru Gojo, Infinity, basically lets him slow down any physical attack within a radius of him by an unlimited factor to create the illusion of infinite distance. Which, to explain it simply for all the unknowing Jerrys of the world, nothing can hit Gojo if it actually exists. And because Sans is the weakest enemy in the game, with 1 HP and 1 defense, any attacks that Gojo can land are gonna be a definitive finishing move. So if you want to ignore Toby Fox's more meta vision for the world, characters, and powers of Undertale, saying Sans is just a skeleton who attacks with real bones like Fanon portrays, then duh, he's at a major disadvantage and probably just gets world of lighted by a serious Gojo, cause you can't hit him. But whether it's the fact that magic can harm ghosts, change the color of your soul, or just the fact that Flowey uses it directly to destroy a soul, assuming you agree with the notion that Undertale magic works in a mysterious, ethereal way, and that Sans isn't just Ooga Booga throwing bones at a child, then this fight flips into something much more interesting. Because Gojo's Infinity, while clearly broken, is shown to have a crippling weakness during the Sukuna fight to unconventional attacks and space alteration. Since, despite Gojo's Infinity working automatically, we know from Chapter 76 that things like poisons, for example, would bypass Infinity since Gojo's automated brain couldn't pick it out as dangerous. Sukuna exploited this fact by using the world-cutting slash to target the space Gojo inhabited instead of Gojo himself, turning Gojo into just Joe. So if magic in Undertale, or the bullet board in general, targets the soul as opposed to the body, then in Jerry terms again,
Kaboom?
Yes, Rico. Kaboom.
Kaboom.
To make an obvious thing obvious though, even among other Undertale characters, Sans is a particularly special case, since he's the only character, aside from Flowey, that actively knows almost everything you've been up to as the player, whether it's who you've saved, how many times you've reset, or if you're just cheating the game. In turn, despite having all stats capped at 1, Sans becomes the hardest boss in the entire game, with a moveset that exploits this fourth wall breaking nature of Undertale, specifically to prevent you from completing the bad ending. The most obvious example of this is the fact that he's the only character who won't just stand around and take it if you try to attack him, with Sans actively bending the game's rules to dodge your attacks. But even beyond that, we see him disable your invincibility frames, attack your HUD, teleport across the map in front of our own eyes, deal poisonous damage based on our karma, cause the screen to glitch, and just outright ridiculous crap like never ending his turn so that you don't get a chance to attack him in the first place. I mean, heck, he's the only character besides the literal god of hyperdeath to have an undodgeable attack, and he gets 2 of them for good measure. Needless to say, all of these aspects which involve directly manipulating gameplay are uniquely important to Sans scaling and sort of push him to another level above typical monsters or their soul targeting hacks. And while trying to decipher how said OP game-breaking hacks would interact with a character outside of the game seems like a pretty impossible task, because the king of over-explaining himself, Gege Akutami, is in the picture, we have plenty of information on how soul-based attacks affect people in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. Of course, I'm not going to bore you with all the major details, but here are the big 3 rules of souls in JJK. Damage on the soul damages the body. This is how Mahito turned Nanami into spaghetti. Sorcerers only partially resist soul attacks. This was shown by Nanami tanking a previous spaghettification. And once a soul is damaged, the self-healing reversed curse technique becomes impossible unless you can see the shape of your soul, which we learned during the end of the Sukuna fight. So, with all that in mind, if we're assuming the bullet board works sort of like a pseudo-domain expansion that forces Gojo to play by the soul-targeting rules of Undertale, then Sans, with an overconfident Gojo in his sights, is about to deliver this man a 10-piece late 2010s YouTuber combo with a side of fries, biscuit, and no drink. Because Gojo, believing himself to be untouchable, isn't going to expect an incredibly weak monster to not only bypass his infinity, but hit him with his strongest attack right out the gate. And once that set of events happens, since soul-based damage is nearly unhealable for Gojo, Sans is basically gonna have him on lock. As even if we ignore the karma damage, since Gojo is a generally upstanding guy, Sans will continue to break the rules, avoiding being hit while targeting his menu, and eventually break Gojo just like he broke all of us. And while sure, even you or me could technically beat Sans in the player's seat, we were given infinite attempts to do so. How many of us could actually first try Sans in a blind playthrough with all his shenanigans at play, and how many fewer could do that during their first fight with the Undertale combat system? Yeah, not many are probably holding up to something like that.
I'm also glad I did.
And with all of Gojo's primary abilities off the table, aside from his infinite stamina or domain, Sans either wins by bodying him to the floor in a straight fight, or if you think Gojo could still perform it in the bullet board and that Sans can't just warp away, then Gojo just opens his domain, creating an undodgeable mental attack, which proceeds to pour the entirety of the Undertale fandom's collective consciousness into Sans' brain cavity, and that is a fate far, far worse than any death.
Yep.
But anyways, the most important thing to mention is that these two would never fight in character, so tell me what you think would happen if they actually met in the comments, and that's
they'd probably
all.
be friends. They'd just like each other. Alright, but that's gonna be it for the video. Make sure to subscribe to Tuck Almighty. This was a peak video. It's funny. Goku versus Sans. I don't know. Goku's the character made to win, but other than that, have a great day. Please subscribe.